And so recording it should be in session. Okay. So this first part of the presentation is Canvas for parents. So Canvas for parent or the guardian allows the parents to navigate the students' classes, and it allows you and gives you the option to do the following: read course announcements, see course assignments, preview documents that teachers have posted, view the course syllabus, see course outcomes, such as the grades and other learning standards or expectations, view the course calendar, look at grades, access student conversations using course messaging, and communicate with the teacher using the inbox feature. The site, the link for this, some parents may be having a problem accessing Canvas or creating their login, is because you might be going to the wrong place to log in. Canvas is very specific. The link to log in is very specific to your school. So you cannot just Google Canvas on the website. You actually have to make sure it is the Issaquah School District Canvas page. So the website is issaquahinstructure.com for the login. And that's how you would get into it. But you can also navigate to Canvas on the web page through the portal. And so if you go to the Issaquah School District webpage, you will see the home page, you will see the portal. So on the top of the website, always you have this button, and that's how you're going to get into Family Access and Canvas. Notice it's only for grades 6 through 12. So once you're on the Canvas page, another place people might get stumped on is this page. First is the student login. You have to go to the parent login and then click on this hyperlink to log into your parent account. And I was signed in, and so I was able to get into my child's account. Okay. When you are setting up your login, if you have not done so the first time, you will be asked to request a password or to enter your password. And if you have not, you will be prompted to create a password, and you're going to click Forgot Password. If you go to that page and you don't have a password, you can just reset your password. One of the big things is you need to make sure that the email you're using is the email listed in Family Access if you're Family 1 or Family 2. Okay, so if you're in Family Access, your email is registered in Family Access. That's the email you need to be using to be able to look at or access Canvas. So if you're using another email, that's one of the reasons you might be having a problem getting into it. Also, for some families, Gmail accounts are causing some problems. So check and see what some of the, there are some tips on the district site to help you figure out why you might not be getting it. A big one is the junk mail, and it's going into the junk mail filter, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Sometimes what I'm hearing though is families are going into the logging in or trying to log in into Canvas for students. So note, the entry point for Canvas for students is different than Canvas for parents. So students are going into Canvas for students, and through their student account, they have access to different things. For example, they might get access to teacher information. They might be able to view and take tests. They have several different things that they have access to, the class list and information. So parents should not be using their child's Canvas account, because it really violates the confidentiality of other students in that class. So you have your own account as parents to make sure you can help monitor and support your child's learning. If your child needs any help with their account, they can always ask the teacher or go to the school librarian as directed by the teacher to ask for help. So things that parents and guardians cannot do is submit assignments, read course discussion, take quizzes, join course groups, send messages to students, see the course roster, and see unpublished courses. So again, we talked about signing in. When you're doing it for the first time, you're going to see forgot password. You're going to click here. You're going to then enter your email address, and this email will come to you. Many parents are saying that they're not seeing this email. So please look for an email from notifications@instructor.com. Honestly, it's going into a lot of people's spam or junk mail. So check for it. Sometimes it takes up to 30 minutes. And then when you get this email, so you can search for this ISD Canvas from notifications@instructor, you can reset your password by clicking here, and then you can save it so that it keeps on, saving the password, so you can always log in without any problems. And one of the things I'm going to tell you now is, once you've done that, make sure you put notifications@instructor.com. This email, make sure you put it as one of your safe senders, because teachers, if they're using Canvas to send you emails, that is also going to be the root of the email coming to you, the sender. So you want to make sure that those are not being blocked by your email. And again, as I said, for some Gmail users, there have been some issues. So if there are issues, please make sure you go to the help session, the link over here, and then I'll be mailing this out to you. And so that you can find out what are some things you can do if you're a Gmail user and you're not getting your forget password link. Another thing I was going to say is, at the end of the session, all of you who are in attendance, you can fill out a feedback form and enter your email address, and I can email you the slide deck tomorrow morning. It'll take me longer to remind you or send you the link for the YouTube video. The dashboard. So once you log in, you saw when I logged in, you first see this, and this is called the dashboard. And the dashboard allows you to see all your child's classes. In high school, it will be 7 classes. In middle school, it's probably 6 or 7 classes based on, high school, it's probably 8 classes, because it's the 7 classes that they have in high school. Plus, there's a class that all students have, is called a commons class. And that's basically school counseling, school, ASB, all of these different school related. So really, for students, Canvas becomes like a website, the school's website. It's easy access for them to find and click onto the counseling site and different sites at school that the students might frequently need and need access to. And for you as a parent, same thing. You have access to this, the school commons site. And so if you're looking for counseling office, you can go to Canvas and find some of the school websites very easily via Canvas. So Canvas is a great way. It's kind of like a second way to access a lot of the websites on the school out-facing website. Before we adopted Canvas in the district, teachers used to put everything on their websites that were linked on the main web page, but now we don't have that. All of their websites are now through Canvas. In this example, I want you to notice that this parent has 2 children in the secondary schools, not in the district, just in the secondary schools. So when you get to the dashboard, there's a little caret up here, and you can toggle back and forth between your 2 children. Okay, so then you can only see the 8 classes or 7 classes for each of your child, and so you're not overwhelmed with all of the different classes your child is taking. So organizing your dashboard, some tips and tricks. You can use the toggle to view each child. You can use the 3 dots on the top of each side, the tile card. And you can actually color code those cards. It's optional. Now that there are only 7 or 8, you might not need to, but you might want to rename the course if you want to. Stephanie's going to do a demonstration, live demonstration, but I just want to show you where the 3 dots are. Just note that you can modify what it looks like using the 3 dots here. On each of your classes, you can change the color and rename the classes using the 3 dots here. The first time someone told me 3 dots, I couldn't see it. So if you're like me and you don't notice these things, 3 dots, just letting you know. Okay, and so I'm going to stop sharing so that Stephanie can share.
All right. So I have a parent account here that I am going to be using. And again, it is the email that you have associated in Family Access, and then you do set your own password. It's super important that you go to issaquah.instructure.com to log in and click Forgot Password. So you'll know that you're in the right spot because you'll see the Issaquah School District icon. And if you're not seeing that, you're probably not in the right spot. So once you've gotten successfully logged in, you're going to have access to your dashboard. And it has changed recently in about 6 months that you can toggle between your students. So you can see that this parent has 2 students, and the second student is a secondary student, which all of our students are. And to just kind of give you an overview of the dashboard, there's a few things you can do with the dashboard. So you can customize this as much as you would like. So it comes with certain names that are associated with the course. So kind of like this one here says Social Studies 8. You can click the 3 dots in the upper right corner of any of these icons to customize it. And by that, it means you can change the nickname. So in this case, I could change this to SS8 if I wanted to. And if I wanted to change the color, I could do that as well, just by selecting any color here that I like. And then once I like the color, I can click apply, and then it changes it for me. That is only changing it on my view as a parent. It doesn't change it for anyone else's view. The other thing that you might want to do is drag and drop the different icons around depending on the order that you prefer to see them. So for example, if this student was added to the Liberty High School Commons and it's not something that I'm interested in seeing very often, it might be the last one on the list, but I'm very interested in how my student's doing in English, social studies, and math. So those are my top 3. The other thing is that you can also change the way it looks. So it defaults to card view, but you can change it to list view. Now list view, it's careful. You got to be careful with that one because it's just putting the list of items that are available at that moment in time. So if your student doesn't have anything to do in a particular class, it's not going to show it here. So students who use the list view have struggled in the past trying to get to their classes, especially in remote learning. It was interesting. They'd be like, I don't see my class. It's because they didn't have anything listed on there yet and it didn't show up. And then the other option is to do recent activity, and that's the same. So that's kind of a more limited view of what's been happening in the classes at this time. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the card view. I find I like that best as a parent because I can quickly see the name of the class. I can see who I'm observing in that class, and I can quickly toggle between students. Other things to note on the dashboard are the to-do list. So the to-do list is a fast way to see what your student has upcoming to do. And so you can click any of these and they will open and then show you an assignment that they have upcoming. And if it's any kind of assignment that's a third party or an app that requires login, you're not going to be able to see it, but your student will. And then below that, we have recent feedback. So if your student has received feedback for an assignment, you could click open this feedback and then you can see what your student was told. And we'll go over feedback a little bit more when we go over grades. And then finally, you do have access to going to grades from here. So that's a little bit about the dashboard in a nutshell and about how you can customize it.
Stephanie, can you do me a favor and also talk about the Megaphone, the paper with pencil and the folder icon on each of the cards? And
yes,
thank you.
So on each of these, there's little icons here, and those all mean something different. And if you hover over them, it tells you a little bit. So for example, this one means that there's announcements that have been created in this class. The middle one means that there is assignments, and this last one means that they're files. So all of those have been associated with this class. And if there's something brand new with that class, it will light up or it will have like a little indicator next to it if it's something that you have yet to access or see. So that's something that you can keep in mind, is this is a quick way of seeing what's happening in the students' classes. Okay. Any other questions right now? All right.
We'll take the questions as we move to the next section. So let's look at notifications. So for the notification section, sorry, I'm going to share my screen again. So for notifications, this was one of the questions a lot of parents had. How do you set up your notifications? Because some of you feel like you're being spammed by Canvas. I totally feel you. The first couple months, I was getting about 10 emails a day sometimes, and it's overwhelming. So how do you set up your notifications so that it's meaningful and it doesn't become white noise after a while? So you can change your notifications in the notification section, or you can click on accounts. Stephanie is going to walk you through it. And then when you get to the notifications, you can change your notifications for a class. So this is me with the changing notifications for the Earth and Space class. And then you can check what I want for that class, what kind of notifications. Or you can actually choose to change notification for all of the classes. So you can do it for one specific class or all of them at the same time. So maybe, you know, your kid is doing well in most of their classes, but you kind of really are trying to keep up with them and be very vigilant with, let's say, math. So for math, you can ask for more notifications to come to you. And for other classes, you can keep them once a day or once a week to whatever preference you want. And so tips for notification that Stephanie will go over is how to add multiple emails, because maybe the email the school district has, and it's the primary email that you log in with, is not the email you want your notifications sent to, because you don't check that account, or for whatever reason you want to have notifications sent to a different email. You could do that. You can also add a telephone number to get text for notifications. You can choose notifications as a daily summary, as a weekly summary. So you can choose that, or immediately. Okay. And so some of you who are getting overwhelmed by the number of emails in a day, maybe you want to choose daily summary. I get my emails only at 6 o'clock. One email with all of the updates for Canvas around 6 o'clock every day. And for specific notifications, you can say, you know, immediately. For example, conversations I have immediately. So it completely depends on you. One of the things to remember, though, is make sure that you are having your notifications at InStructure going to your inbox, because if a teacher is using the email, the Canvas, using Canvas to notify parents and pushing out messages via Canvas, then the message is not really coming from the teacher's email address. It's still coming from notifications@instructure.com. Okay, so this notification demonstration is keep all of these options in mind, and it's completely a parent preference as to how much you want to physically go into Canvas to check versus how much you want Canvas to send information to you. Okay, and I will stop sharing now so that Stephanie can do the notification portion.
Thank you. All right. So notifications. First of all, I just want to hop over here to account, and you have some preferences over here that you can do. So when I click on account, the first thing that I'm going to actually go to is settings. And the reason why I'm doing that is I just want to show you how you can go ahead and add some additional information if you wanted to. So over here, I have in the upper corner, the ability to add additional email addresses and other contacts. And when I click on other contacts, it gives me a couple of options. I can do a text number, so I can do a cell phone number. It also gives you Slack email if that is something that you have as well. So you can add additional emails, text, or Slack email. I do suggest that if you are somebody who prefers text messaging, you can go ahead and set that up here as well. The nice thing is you can set notifications for every single thing that you have independently. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that next. So once you've added anything, your next spot is going to notifications. So right now I'm already on account, so notifications is showing here, but you can also always click on account and see notifications. So I'm clicking on notifications, and it tells me right up at the top a couple of different things. So the first is that account level notifications apply to all courses. But you can set notifications for individual courses. And when you do that, it overrides the account level notifications. So that's what Lorna was talking about. If you want to have specific notifications for a particular class, you could do that. If you choose to have daily notifications, they come around 6 p.m. So I had my daily notification at 6 this evening. And then if you choose weekly notifications, they become between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Friday. So right now I'm set to do account notifications. This is where you can also choose to toggle to a particular class. And if you do that, it will look slightly different. And it says that you've now enabled notifications for that course. I'm going to go ahead and stick at the account level for now. And there's just a couple that I want to kind of talk about as far as ones that I suggest and what it means to have them set a certain way. So you can see that I'm hovering over this, and this one is saying weekly summary, and that's due dates. So due dates maybe stays as a weekly summary, but you do have options. You can choose to have it notify you immediately, have a daily summary, have a weekly summary, or completely turn notifications off. There's a couple that I'm going to tell you that I would steer towards or clear of, depending on which ones they are. Notifications off, make sure that it's something you don't need notifications for if you're going to turn it off completely. And there's a couple in here you should probably not do that with, because if you want to have communications with the families. Notify immediately. That one is also one that you want to use with caution, just because it comes immediately. So I'll tell you which ones that I recommend for that as well. So due date, you might want to have as a daily or weekly summary. Grading policies, that's up to you. It's just when a teacher changes anything about grading in their course. So I suggest that's not something that you need to have information about necessarily, but you might want to do a weekly policy. A few of these are kind of, as you can see, are set to notifications are off, because I, as a classroom, as a teacher or as a parent, don't need to necessarily know all the things that are happening on a day-to-day basis in a class. But I do want to know if there's announcements. So I've set that to a daily summary. Grading, I have as a daily summary. So that way, if a student's grade gets changed throughout the day, I kind of get that final grade moment, as opposed to if a teacher made a correction, the student sent it back and then they returned it. I get kind of a glimpse of what happened versus seeing it at a moment. I don't want an instant notification. I have invitations set to immediately. Late grading and submission comments to daily summary. And they all come in the same email. So nice and neatly packaged in one email. Discussions, I have set to replies. Now, parents can't actually see discussions, so you could turn these off. But this is the one that I really want to talk about, conversations. Conversations is actually the Canvas inbox messaging. So it's super important that you actually have this one turned on. And again, you can control this based on which email you have or text message that you have set up for it. You could choose to have it immediately notify you, or you could have it as a daily summary. I personally have mine set to be immediately notified in case a teacher is trying to contact me through Canvas, that I get notified immediately in my email. So you do have the options of changing that, but it doesn't immediately resonate that conversations equals inbox message or email, and that does. So that's the one that you want to make sure that you see. Scheduling appointments. So students can sign up for appointments in Canvas if a teacher chooses to set that up. You don't necessarily need to have this one turned on, but it's not a bad idea in case you're ever invited to an appointment. I would assume that most teachers would email you directly. And then groups, those are things that happen for students. Conferences or like Zoom meetings, essentially. And then if you choose to have alerts, there's administrative notifications. So if there's anything happening, like today, Canvas was down this morning for a little bit. And if we had sent out a notification, you wanted to be notified, you would be able to get that. And then global announcements is similar to that as well. So those are some of the notifications that I do suggest and how I suggest using notifications. Very much up to you, and you can set them all to be slightly different for each of them that you use. And we will be going over app later because the app has slightly different notification options in there that I use quite frequently. Any questions right now, Lorna?
I don't see any.
Okay.
So let's share my screen again. Susie, please let us know there are questions, because I actually can't see questions while Stephanie is presenting unless I shut down my other screen.
I'll let you know.
Thank you. So notifications, thank you, Stephanie, for that. I will tell you the conversations is an important one for more frequently, because I know that I wasn't getting a couple of emails because I turned my conversation off. I discovered that at curriculum night. And so, last year I was a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of information and I was very strict and turned off a lot of things. So it's something to really kind of consider. So right now I have most stuff for daily notification so that I can get one email at 6 o'clock with all of that information. And I feel very happy. I personally am happy with that level of communication. So I don't feel overwhelmed by the number of emails I'm getting. So when you're doing notifications, I just put this slide in. This is kind of showing my email inbox. So you can see, for example, that this morning, the teacher sent me a notification, email and information through Canvas. So it came in as the email was notification at instructor, but I saw this. This was the kind of person sending it to me and the subject. And then here are my daily ones. This is from Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and it just comes in an IST notification, that kind of a message, and it has all of this information. And even when I get this daily email, I kind of scan through it to decide what I'm going to actually open. So over here, this was graded. So if I want to see the grade, I'm actually going to click and view. But some of them is going to be just saying that an assignment was created or a due date changed. I know that those things are not important. I'm not going to bother opening that. So this kind of helps me narrow down which assignments I'm going to open and which ones I'm going to kind of ignore. So just kind of gives me a summary of what all happened in my daughter's Canvas account that day. So inbox conversations. Parents can use inbox to communicate with the teacher. It depends on your preference. Teachers will use the inbox to communicate with parents and with students. The main thing for me is the students can use inbox to communicate with the teacher without having to know the teacher's email. It's much more, it's very easy and accessible because they can just send a message to the teacher in Canvas while they're there doing work, so they don't have to remember any kind of email address or anything. And if notifications are sent to, the notification may be both sent to your email or it might be just in the inbox. So I've had a couple teachers that I discovered at curriculum nights and messages only in Canvas. So I didn't get that email from that teacher. And then sometimes I see the email, but when I go into my Canvas inbox, there's no message in the Canvas inbox from the message the teacher had sent. For example, the yoga and the biology message I got in my email the other day, in the past week, neither one of these two are in my Canvas inbox, but they're as emails. So sometimes you might have to check, and that's why setting the notification of the conversation is important, so you know if your teacher has put a message in the inbox. Okay, and then calendar view. So when you go into Canvas, you'll see a calendar, and I love the calendar part because it helps me plan and also know how many assignments my child has due at certain times of the week or on a day. So if there's like an important thing that we're doing that evening or the next day, just kind of helps us plan as a family. I have color-coded my assignments for my daughter. If you go to these 3 dots, you can color code the assignments for each class, so you know what class, where the assignments are, so you know what the assignments are all about, because sometimes just reading the title of the assignment, you don't know if it's a ELA or for social studies or what. So you can color code it. You can look at it in the monthly schedule like I have right here, or you can look at it as an agenda setting, which I like sometimes a lot better. So you have multiple ways to look at the calendar view by toggling over and changing those buttons, and also changing your color coding on the side can be very helpful. And so the tips for this one is the color coded based on the classes, and using agenda view to look at due dates sometimes is less painful or difficult depending on your preference. My preference was agenda view, but Stephanie will go ahead and do a calendar feature demonstration at this time. Oh, and
No, you're fine.
For that. Yep.
I was going to steal it from you. Okay, so quickly, just the inbox is right here over the global navigation, and you can see that this parent has 3 notifications. So that's where you can find notifications if you're not having them emailed to you. And it works just like any messaging system in the fact that you create a message and you can manage messages there as well. To get to the calendar, you can get that also from our global navigation right here underneath. And the colors on the dashboard are actually what determine the colors over here on the side, but you can, just like we were doing on the other one, you can change those colors here as well and apply them, and then you can turn them on and off. So one of the nice things with the calendar is that everybody gets a calendar inside of Canvas. You can toggle on and off what classes that you'd prefer to see or not see. So you could, if you really just want to see one class at a time, you could narrow it down to just one class at a time if you wanted to, by just toggling these on or off. It does only let you have 10 on at a time. So if you're not using this really as a parent, you can just turn that off. You do have the week view. And one thing to note with the week view is that a lot of times the default in Canvas for the due dates is 11:59 in the evening. So you might find that a lot of the due dates sit really far down here and you wouldn't even notice them. It is not the view that I suggest using. I do think the month or the agenda view is a better option. So the month is a great way of seeing an overview for the whole time of the month, and agenda is nice for giving you kind of a quick overview by day. So those are the 2 that I would recommend using. It is important to know that you can toggle by week or month. So just by using that, and you can always pop back to today. Undated assignments are over on the right-hand side, and they're going to be listed under here. So that means an assignment that a teacher may have put for students to do that doesn't actually have a due date, they're going to sit under here. So you can't always 100% depend on what you're seeing on the due dates over here, because sometimes there's undated assignments over here. Students in high school are actually going to be getting an executive functioning lesson pretty quickly here on how they can add to their own calendar. So that's one thing that they're going to be able to do. They can just click and add information. And it's important also to know that you have the calendar feed, and you can attach this by clicking quickly here, and you can copy this calendar and add it to a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar. So students can do this as well. So if they're not coming here to look at something and they're using something as an additional planner, or they're using their calendar for Google or Outlook, they could attach the Canvas calendar there and everything will update there for them. And that is a brief overview of the calendar.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. And we are chugging along. Okay. And I'm going to screen share again. Okay, so we've talked about the calendar, and so let's go on to the course navigation bar. So course navigation bar, once you're in the class, each teacher will determine what their course navigation bar will look like, and also how something like what's available and how it's arranged a bit. So there's flexibility in that, just like when we had flexibility in creating our websites. So the navigation bars may be different for each teacher, but here are some common things that all teachers will have. Announcements, it's going to be important information for the teacher that doesn't go into the modules, which will just be the gateway to the learning content. Assignments, the list of assignments and description, any discussions available to students, and so this one is only for students. The syllabus, so teachers are required to post their syllabus, which includes the course policies, grading information, curriculum information. Assessments and quizzes might be in there, and information about that. Grades for sure in all of the navigation bar. And then people is something that only students have access to because it lists their classmates. Now, there are also many other apps that students have access to and are linked for Canvas. So sometimes a student might have Office 365, Flipgrid, the class link. Those are things that parents, we don't have access to. We're not paying for books for, all people, including parents, where the accounts are different. And so there are certain apps that are put in Canvas only for students, and other ones that parents have access to. So course organization is another way. If you can go to courses, it's another way to kind of look at your classes and access the classes. I prefer dashboard and Stephanie said she preferred that one too. And then features of the navigation bar. I'm going to let Stephanie demonstrate that. Sometimes I'm going to be honest, as a parent, it's difficult for me to navigate different courses because of the unique ways teachers might set it up. So I would definitely recommend just looking and playing with it, but it depends on your style. When my daughter was in middle school, I felt like I had to support a little bit more. And so I had to be familiar with the course navigation bar, because if she had an assignment on PowerPoint or something and we were trying to review for it, she sometimes, might have needed a little bit help for that. But now that she's in high school and even in 8th grade, there was little less hand holding. So it's a process. So I definitely think when the kids are younger in 6th and 7th grade, parents might need to know how to use that navigation bar a lot more and be more familiar with Canvas on the actual desktop versus on a mobile phone that I'm primarily using now as a high school parent. So just keep that in mind, like who are you and what is your role with your child? Are you mainly a guide right now because they're in 6th or 7th grade, or are you a little bit more hands-off because they're a little bit older? Okay, and I'll stop sharing and talking.
Guide on the side, right? Isn't that what?
Guide on the side, definitely all through high school, but
yes,
still watching.
So I'm going to go ahead and pop back over to dashboard. So we call this the global navigation because everybody's looks pretty much the same. They have the same things over on the side, and courses is that way. And these will always appear in alphabetical order, no matter which order you have them on your dashboard. When you go into a course, each course is set actually to have, it's recommended to teachers by us that they should have these in alphabetical order. So that's where you might start to see some changes. And then they are allowed to add them based on usability in their class. So in this class, you can see that there's a few different A's. Actively Learn is one that would be used in an English class, possibly. Social studies, maybe even science. So that might be up here at the top because it comes before announcements and assignments. Teachers oftentimes will use assignments and modules, but sometimes they hide assignments and only use modules because it offers them a little bit more control. So you might also see that as you have students moving through our system, that in 6th grade, that there's less things available on the module. And then as they get older into higher middle school and high school, that you might start to see more things in the course navigation because teachers are letting them have access to certain things. As Lorna pointed out, there are certain things that you can't access at all. So like BrainPop, Class Notebook, and Connected are all tools that are available to our teachers and our students, but not available to parents. So that's where that guide on the side comes in, where you can sit over your student's shoulder and help them navigate. So learning the navigation tools is still important. So that's a little bit about the course navigation, and it does look different depending on the course, but hopefully they're still keeping them in somewhat alphabetical order for ease of access. Any other questions about the course navigation versus the global navigation?
I think parents are anxious and interested in the next section of our
in the grades.
Yes.
One thing I do want to point out on global navigation that you all have access to right here under help is you all have access to the Canvas 101 for parents and guardians right here. So once you log in, if you launch this one, this is where we have lots of information for this. And actually we will be posting this video here. We have last year's video right here. So all of the information is always easily accessible right here through help. Okay.
Thank you.
Got to put a plug in for it.
Oh, I have a plugin for you too, don't worry. Okay, so we'll go back to sharing screen. Okay. So next one, of course, is the one that many of you came for and wanting to learn more about. So on Canvas and through Canvas, you can access the grades through multiple ways, either from the main dashboard page, in the course page. So there are couple ways to get to the grades. For high school, we want to remind all parents for high school again, that in the 2nd quarter, so this is sometime, I think after October or something or the other, I can't remember the date, but make sure that you're looking at all grading periods and not just quarter one, because it'll default to quarter one and to quarter two, and quarter two would just be that small chunk of quarter two. So quarter one, quarter two, but you want to make sure, since the grade for your child is a semester grade, that you're looking for all grading periods for that semester. Stephanie can demonstrate that a little bit more, and I can also open my child's gradebook and embarrass her to demonstrate that if it's not clear. But course access for more, looking at your grades is going to give you more information about missing assignments, late assignments, your child's score. It's going to talk about the weighted, because very often teachers are going to say 10% for this, 10% for that, 40% for this, and 40% for something else. So, sometimes things are weighted. So it also gives you a reminder for the teacher said at curriculum night about the syllabus and what the weighting system is for your child. And that if your child gets feedback from their teacher, you can also read the comment from the teacher in that. So without much ado, I'm going to let Stephanie do this demonstration.
Thank you. Yes, this is the part everybody wants to know about, right? Grades. What are my students' grades and how do I get access to them? So I'm going to go ahead and start back here on the dashboard because there's a couple of ways that you can access grades. And I personally mostly use the app, and we'll go over that in a little bit, but this is probably going through the web browser here is probably the best space to go if you want detailed feedback, because this is where you can actually see comments and information a little bit easier than you can on the app. So first of all, I'm on the dashboard, and over here on the right-hand side, I have my to-do list, my recent feedback, and then I have view grades. By clicking view grades here, I get a great overview of my students' grades for all their classes, okay? So in this case, I see my first student up there, and then I see my second student down here. Notice that right here, this is a high school course, and so this one has the quarters listed, so all grading periods, which Lorna was sharing, versus quarter one and quarter two. Because they are in a semester grading period, you do want to look at all grading periods when it's the right time to do so. So that'd be in quarter two. Otherwise, you're just looking at the current grade for quarter one or quarter two. So we'll look at that one in just a second here. You can look at any of these, and all of these are hyperlinked to go directly into a course. And so now I am going to click on this course. And now it's going to give me a detail. So I just want to give you a little bit of an overview of what's going on here. So this is a high school course, so it is by grading period, and I can toggle between grading periods here at the top. So right now I'm in quarter one. If I pop into quarter two, I'll probably see a different assignment available. I'm going to click apply. So that was a different assignment. And it's telling me the grade up here in the corner is total of 80. If I go back to quarter one and apply, it's a 76%. And then if I go over here to all grading periods and apply, it's going to be a combination of those two. So it's 76.95. So it combined the two quarters because, as Lorna also pointed out, there's weighted groups in this. So the groups and the weights are right here on the side. So my students being given 20% for assignments, 20% for formative, and 60% for summative assignments to equal 100%. You will often see imported assignments in there. And that just means that it's when teachers are moving things between classes, they pop in and it creates that. It's usually a nothing. So you can ignore it. They're going to be moving those assignments out. So that's why it's set to a 0%. Teachers also might have 0% categories for things where they're not actually using them to calculate a total grade, but using them for students to practice. So let's go ahead and go back and look now more at the actual grade book. So here I have the course that I'm in. I'm arranging by due date, which is what I suggest to do. It puts them based off the due date. I can see the name of the assignment. I can see underneath which group it's attached to. So that's from over here. So this first one's a summative and then an assignment. The status, if there was any status. This is probably where parents get the most confused, is the status. So right here, I have an assignment that was missing and I have an assignment that's late. As soon as I'm seeing this assignment have a status here, there's really only two ways that it's going to get a status assignment to it. Number one, it was always missing. If it said it was missing, and if I now see late, it means the student has submitted the assignment after the due date. So it was late. And those are essentially only assigned to online assignments. So teachers can give paper assignments, they can do in-class kind of assignments, online assignments, they can also do external tool assignments. The only one that automatically takes missing or late are online assignments. This is important to talk about with you all because sometimes it comes up that a student didn't turn something in and you know that they did. Oftentimes, teachers will accept something on paper in class, but they've put the assignment in as an online assignment for students who choose to submit it online. Your student who maybe has chosen to turn it in class on paper should still go inside of Canvas and mark, I turned this in on paper and submit. Because when they do that, it will then mark that it's been turned in. Otherwise, Canvas doesn't know the difference if your student has turned it in or not. All it knows is it didn't have anything pass through its portal. So if your student's choosing to turn something in on paper in class, we want to make sure they're getting in the practice of writing, I turned this in on paper, submit. And then they can come here and this missing or late tag will disappear. So that's probably the number one way. Other types of assignment types, teachers have to manually put the status in there. So if the teacher hasn't received something on paper and that was the way it was collected, then they might put the status of missing. So hopefully that clarifies a little bit about the late and the missing.
Stephanie, is there any way that we can tell how if it's a computer generated, like a Canvas generated missing versus a teacher generated missing?
So for example, I can open this one and I'm just going to see here what was in here. So this was a response. This is not an answer. It's not well written. So this one was turned in late, but it doesn't really tell me what kind of assignment it was as a parent. So no, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to say like an online. The status is only applies to online assignments, and teachers have to go in and manually add it to any other kind of assignment, which is a lot of work. So I don't know if they're always doing that. So I would just assume most are online, and most teachers are taking online assignments so that the kids have an option between online or on paper. So that is always kind of a learning curve. Now that we have a one-to-one, a lot of it's gone to online assignment.
And Stephanie, my other question is, as a teacher, when I use Gradebook, I could, if a student didn't turn in an assignment, I'd say missing, and then it would note it in Gradebook in family access for parents to see. If a student doesn't turn in an assignment, do teachers write missing so that parents can see that? And it's because right now, there's a little bit confusion, I feel, from based on what parents are telling me.
The recommendation is yes, that they should mark it as missing, no matter if it's an on paper, an external tool assignment. So something that they have to do it manually. The other thing that you might see, and I think this is more popular maybe with middle school than high school, is the 50% policy. So if something's missing or late and you see 2.5 points right here instead of 5 and it still says missing, that means your student is missing it, even if there's points attached to it, because our teachers are often using 50% points for late as an indicator. And that's something that hopefully they went over at back to school night and kind of went over how it works in their class. And you could probably also find this information on their syllabus.
Good reminder, Stephanie, because I remember last year in helping parents, I saw that it seemed like the child had turned in everything, but then in looking at it, there were a whole bunch of 50%. So I let the parent know that those were all missing. Late assignments. Not sure which one, but that was what teachers gave so that the 0 did not hugely negatively impact a child's grade. So
yeah,
if you're a lot of 50%, that's a good indication that you need to have a conversation with your child, because teachers are not giving zeros, because getting out of a 0 is really, really hard right now. So
yeah, a 50% is still enough. It's just a much easier one to recover from than a 0. Some other things I can talk about with the gradebook is that you can see the score right here. And if there's any comments attached to anything, by clicking the assignment, you might be able to see the comments that a teacher has made with it. So I'm going to just pop over here to grade Q1 again. And if there's comments, they might be sitting here. I think I have comments in a different class. So let's go look at different one. So I'm obviously just toggling quickly between classes using courses over here. So right here, this is a comment that the teacher has made, so I can open it up just clicking here. It says, please resubmit once you complete all parts. So the student, this is an example of the 50%. So 5 points out of 10, please resubmit. So they gave them half credit for doing the assignment, but they didn't do it the way they wanted them to. Then we have another one here. That's a comment. Wonderful response. Use details. Now, if I wanted to see more about that response, I can always click open the assignment and then I can click over here. So notice that I can see my student attempted it one time. They've reviewed their own feedback. I can read their response and I can view the feedback that the teacher said and it pops up over here. It's amazing that this teacher has me as the student has me as a teacher. Crazy.
And what Stephanie is talking about is truly the main goal on why we're using Canvas, because Canvas allowed teachers and students to communicate and for students to see the feedback from teachers. In Gradebook, you really did not get that as much. There was no way to do that for online submissions or for electronic turned in assignments. And so Canvas really allowed more communication between teacher and student and feedback, and also for parents to know what the feedback was, if the child was doing a retake or a second attempt or something. It allowed parents to see that. So it became a little more transparent for parents on what the child was doing in class.
Yes. And one other thing I do just like to point out to parents is that you can print grades from here. So if you ever need access to the students' grades and want to have just kind of a general idea of what they have, the gradebook of record will still remain Skyward, which Lauren is going to go over later. And then I do just want to say your students have the option to plug in what if scores. So if you see 77.5% in a class and they're seeing 85%, they may have plugged something in down here to do a what if score. So like, what if I turn this in and get 10 points? And it will say that up here that the score that they're seeing is not their actual score and it needs to be reverted back. So that's just something I want parents to be aware of in case you are overly, if you're depending on your student to always show you the grades and they know some of the cool features that Canvas can do for them. Any other questions about Gradebook right now?
I think we're almost, let's start with the next session on mobile app, and then we will take questions and stop recording. It'll be easier to do it then.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. So we did our demo on grades. And so let's go on to the next one. And so we talked about the weighted grades and such. Okay, inbox. Just a reminder that this is something I encouraged my child to do, especially in middle school, because sometimes maybe something was missing or late or whatever. And I was having the discussion with her and she's like, I turned it in, but it's been now 4 days and what's going on. You can encourage and you can coach your child on how to communicate with the teacher. So especially in high school, teachers really encourage students to advocate for themselves and to ask the questions. But you can start doing that, coaching them on how to do that in 6th and 7th grade. So you can help them compose a letter to their teacher and say, hey, Miss Vellath or Miss Olson or Miss Gilmore, I turned this assignment in, it's still showing up, it's late. Can you please check your grades or something like that. And the good news about composing messages in Canvas is it automatically populates your child's classes and their teachers' emails. So they don't have to look it up. And so it becomes much simpler for them to send the message to the teacher. And so that's one of the ways that they can communicate. And also you can communicate separately, but especially as they get into secondary, we encourage the student to first do it before the parent starts communicating with the teacher about a low grade or missing assignment or anything. So that's usually the rule of thumb. First have the child do it and then you can do it. But for children doing it, the students doing it, we have tried to make it more accessible by providing an inbox and the emails more easily accessible for our students. Now, the next one is Canvas mobile app. Many parents were asking about the mobile app. One, you can get a QR code from the account settings. So if you want to use the QR code, if you're on your computer, you can go to account and settings, and you can look, you'll see the QR button where you can click on it and it'll show you the QR code, scan it to the computer, and boom, you're on your way. However, once you find the Canvas app, and one of the things I'm going to tell you is there are 3 apps. One is a yellow one. This circle over here is yellow, and that's for teachers. One is red, and that's for students. And the one that's blue, that's Canvas for parents. So you can see the blue one, it says parent, so then you know you're on the right one. You're going to click on this button. It's going to say find school. You're going to just type in the word Issaquah. It's going to pop up Issaquah School District. So it's not really school specific, it's the whole district. So Issaquah School District. And then you're going to find your school, and then you're going to be able to put in your password and username. But one of the things I want to say before we start is there are pros and cons to using the mobile app versus the desktop version. The pro for this personally is it allows you to do alerts a little bit more easily. A lot of parents are asking, how can I easily see missing assignments? This is definitely the way through mobile app. The limitation is if your child is 6th or 7th grade, you don't have the full view of all of what's on the site. So if your child has questions or seeing, it's a certain feedback, it's a very, it's kind of a snapshot of everything that you really have access to in Canvas. So it really depends on how much you are getting involved and you're checking your child's grade, or how much they're fine and they're on their way, no problem, not going to log into the computer, but you're just keeping an eye on it using your mobile app. And then you still have inbox access on your mobile app. So again, Mapped App Store, you're looking for the blue one. Once you find the blue one, you're going to go there, you're going to type in the name Issaquah, you're going to get Issaquah School District. And then once you're here, this one is, of course, the student one, so it's the wrong one, but you can log in with your school email and the password. And remember, you're going to get an email to set your link. If you can set it for the first time. So if you've not set your account on your desktop, the first time you do it, you can do it on your mobile phone. And then you can check your email and see if you have the password reset email that was sent to you on the appropriate email address or the email account that you're using. And then once you get into Canvas, you can see the screen will have, it's a great screen. It's very easy because the first screen, right when you click on the app, is the screen with all your child's grades. So once a day, you can just check and see what your child's grade is in all his or her classes. And then you can also have access to the calendar feature. So you can see what is going on that day in that class. So you can see the week. So you have access to the calendar. It's a very much snapshot again. So on each day of the week, what the assignments look like. And then you can access the inbox using this feature, this 3 lines button. And you can also access the next thing I'm going to show you, which is alerts. So this is a great one because you can just see the grades. And if you notice a grade is dropping or something, you can check quickly what's going on in that class. So the inbox app is under 3 lines that I showed you or reminded you about before. So you click on this thing, those 3 lines over here, you're going to get, oops, wrong direction. You're going to get this inbox, this screen. So you can check your inbox, then you can also manage students. So first, let's talk about the inbox. So you click on inbox and you can see all the messages sent in Canvas to you. And then you can actually also reply clicking the blue button or originally email a teacher using the app. Okay, so you have the ability to do that. Many students have downloaded the Canvas app on their phone, so they also have the ability to communicate with their teacher using this Canvas app, because I know they check their grades or whatever sometimes throughout the day, or if they see something missing or note something in their class. Setting alerts. This is one of the features I actually prefer in the mobile app, because if you click on manage students, if you have more than one child, it's going to give you a drop-down menu, so you can choose whichever child that you're trying to, set the notifications for. And once you've chosen that child, then you're going to get this menu that it says alert me when, and then you're going to see this. So over here, I've turned on the alert for if an assignment is missing. So many of you in the registration form said, is there some simple way to see if I have a missing assignments? And unlike when we used gradebook in Family Access, in gradebook Family Access, on the top of the gradebook, it had a little bar that showed all the missing assignments. We don't have that in Canvas, but you can send notifications, kind of like we had in Family Access, for when an assignment is due. Also, if the grade in a test assignment or in the course falls below a certain percentage. I know many parents would set, when Family Access was the primary way of checking kids' grades, they would do course grade below, and they would say 60, 70, 80%, and they'd get an email saying your child's grade has fallen below, blah, blah, blah. So you can set up that alert here in the mobile app. I have not found a way to set that up in the desktop. So that's one of the reasons I prefer the mobile app, just because right now all I'm doing is just periodically checking to make sure the grades are not going down, especially as they're in high school, and changing, keeping myself alerted in case an assignment is missing or grade is low, or assignment grade itself is low, just so that I can help coach or remind the child that, hey, are you allowed to redo this assignment? Are you allowed to retake this test? What are some options? Because again, you're the coach to your child, and how can you coach your child to help improve the grade, bring it up, and encourage without push, because they are high schoolers or middle schoolers now. And then the next thing I just want to let parents know is that if you or your child is having problems, how can you get help? Because sometimes, especially with the Canvas login, people feel really helpless. And I've tried logging in and it's just not working. And if you've gone through all the checklists, I made sure that it's Canvas for Issaquah School District. I checked my junk mail, I checked Family Access, and I know that this is the main email. This is the email I'm getting all my information from. This is my Family One email. Check, check, check. All three of those are checked. I'm still not able to set up my login. Who do I ask for help? And it's isdedtechhelp@issaquah.wednet.edu. Now, if your child is struggling, and sometimes that happens, they might not be able to get to a certain class link, a book or an app or something, especially as something that they haven't used before. But just make sure that they start with the teacher. The teacher might send them to the school librarian, or if the teacher or the school librarian can't do it, people like Stephanie Olson, we have EdTech leads at each building, and then the EdTech lead at each building is asked to help. Now, if it's a hardware issue, there's an IT person assigned at each building, and an IT person will look at that. But if it's a software issue, we start with the teacher, and then we go to the librarian and the EdTech lead. Anything to do with Family Access and school access, however, is a school registrar issue. Okay. So resources. Stephanie made these 4 fabulous videos, and they are all available on this website. And again, I also have the Issaquah parent login. I will be sending you the slide deck tomorrow, so you will be able to see all of that if you want to kind of try and play with this, if you have not already set your Canvas login account. And if you need help with any part of this before the video, the YouTube video we release comes out with Stephanie's demonstration, you're always welcome to look at these ones for it. It's also on this Canvas site. This is what Stephanie had talked about. There's a help session, but more than that, she has the Canvas 101 a link for how to get help, like how to use Canvas more. She's made many resources. And then lastly, a reminder that we have liaisons at each one of the schools, the secondary school, Issaquah Middle, Pacific Cascade, Cougar, Maywood, Beaver Lake, Pine Lake, and then all 3 of the high schools. And liaisons are also able to help you and answer questions and help you learn how to navigate. We actually have an in-person help session because we know that people learn differently. Some people, doing this presentation, watching the video a couple times, they're going to be okay, but some people might need to come in and help us. They might need us to show them how to do it. Perfectly okay and normal. And so we do have that option for you next week on Wednesday. Same time, 6:30 to 8:30, but this time in the administration building, we'll have laptops. If you want to bring your laptop or your mobile phone, fine too, but we can help answer questions and kind of walk you through any thing and kind of do hands-on help at that time to help you through this. And then finally, we have the, we have the last page. Thank you. We'll do questions at this time. And Susie, would you mind putting the feedback form? I would appreciate if you put the feedback form for this Canvas session. If you have any questions, put that in there too. And also give us your email so that tomorrow I can send you the slide deck with all these resources in there. So Susie, if you wouldn't mind putting that feedback form but before I leave, I want to show you just that picture of that I showed before. So when your teacher sends emails, note that this is going to be the headers versus the Canvas. This is my weekly emails that I get. Oh, sorry, not weekly. My daily emails around 6:16 and 6:19 every day. I get an email and it looks like this, which says assignment graded. So I'm actually going to click on this. You can see I did, because I want to see what the assignment grade was versus this one, assignment created. I really don't care that the assignment was created. I mean, I do care, but you know what I mean. And so I'm not going to open it. I just know that there was an assignment. So this summary is good because it doesn't overwhelm me. It just tells me, there are things that have been posted and kind of gives me a hint as to what I should open and what I shouldn't open. And if I've checked my mobile app and grades are all looking good, not going to worry too much. It didn't impact the grade too much. I am going to stop recording at this time.